The trust fund twins, the Prime Minister and Finance Minister, inherited great fortune. A balanced budget, booming world and U.S. economies, rising commodity prices, record low interest rates, roaring housing markets in Vancouver and Toronto. That was a $20 billion windfall for the government, and they blew every single penny. The Prime Minister keeps telling us that the budget will balance itself. If so, when?
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, let's consider what we actually inherited. We inherited $150 billion of additional debt generated over the previous government. We inherited an unemployment rate of 7.1%. We inherited a growth rate was among the lowest since the Great Depression. So where did we get to, Mr. Speaker? We turned that around. We turned that around with among the highest rates of growth from G7, lowest rates of unemployment. Mr. Speaker, I'll take a liberal economic record over conservative economic rhetoric every day of the week.
Order. The honourable member, order for Carleton.
Well, when Jim Flaherty became finance minister, he made the responsible decision to pay off $30 billion in debt, which prepared Canada for the great global recession, the greatest financial crisis in world history since the Depression. And that's why we were the last to go in and the first to come out of that crisis. Now, by contrast, this government has a booming world and U.S. economy with record low interest rates, multiple factors with which they had nothing whatsoever to do, and they have squandered all of it. When will the budget be balanced?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, we had a whole lot to do with what's going on for Canadian families across the country. We had a lot to do with lowering the middle-class tax rate, $45,000 to $90,000 by 7%. We had a lot to do with...
Order. Order. I'm hearing an awful lot of noise. Members have to remember that each side will get their turn, and the time is when it's their turn, not when it's not their turn. That's the time to speak. Order. The member for Newmarket Aurora will come to order. Honourable Minister of Finance.
As I was saying, we had a lot to do with the introduction of the Canada Child Benefit, which made a huge difference across the country. But, Mr. Speaker, what we most had to do with is the fact that the average family with 2 children in 2019 will have $2,000 more in their pocket in 2019 than 2015. Canadians are better off. Those are the facts. Those are the facts that matter for Canadians across this country.
Honourable member for Carleton. Order.
Speaker, even if you take into consideration the $800 tax increase on every middle-class family in this country, the tax increase targeted at moms and dads who take their kids to sports, or students who buy textbooks or pay tuition, or tax increases on small businesses, even if you take into consideration the $20 billion of extra revenue that poured into the government's coffers last year, they've blown every single nickel. So, question, when will the budget be balanced?
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I guess it's important to deal with facts one by one by one. So let's think about what was just said. What was just said was that people's taxes went up? Wrong. People's taxes went down. What was said that people are worse off? Wrong. What we have is a Canada Child Benefit, making the vast majority of families better off. And most importantly, what we find is that small businesses, lower tax rates in 2018, lower tax rates in 2019. The facts are just wrong. The good news is the economy is growing, lowest unemployment rates we've seen in a generation, and we have much more confidence for the future.